Last chance for the Boolaws as we do get into probably one of the biggest videos that I'm going to have basically since about a year ago when Bitcoin put in the macro cycle lows thus far. So today's video is a big focus on kind of a more long-term picture of Bitcoin throughout these next, let's say, 2 to 4 months. And other than that, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. Blah, 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 blah. YouTube bullshit right here. Please remember to like and subscribe and herp the dirt because actually it has been working quite well recently. A lot of new people on this channel. And if you're new here, take your damn pants off and get ready for Mr. Market to enter in very lovingly. We're all going to get loved tenderly right now. All right, so now that we've gotten through that, let's start it off with our first chart running over here as we get into what has happened since we last spoke yesterday. So since we last spoke yesterday, we were saying, hey, there are several major signals that are on the verge of confirming that would suggest that Bitcoin is in the midst of putting in a pretty major high here. I'm not saying a macro high. I don't think that Bitcoin's in a bear market. This is the biggest bull trap ever. That's the biggest bullshit I've heard in a while as well. So I do want to temper this sort of analysis on both sides. Understand that this can be nuanced, can be very long term. And there's going to be a lot of moving parts here, and this is not going to all happen in one day, let alone 1 month. But as far as this goes, we did have several confirmations on our higher term time frame setups yesterday that do suggest that this current run to the upside is indeed over, and it's time to be looking for a period of sideways, followed by some downside, followed by some more sideways. So in this case, we're starting off with the 5-day time frame. This time frame is starting to really put in some major drives of bearish divergence right here. This was on the verge of confirming as well, although it hasn't closed yet. It closes on Monday night, so still another 2 days left to go in the trading for this. But you know, very, 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 very likely that it does fall through here, as we'll go over later, as all the other confirmed signals have already, you know, kind of fired off. But that is going to be in conjunction with everything else, and we also do see that this is within the context of very low volatility, and the 5-day jewel is lining up for pretty much a perfect sell signal. It's not supported by DMI just yet, but once it is, that will be considered a perfect signal right there, assuming that, you know, that does populate. For right now, it's not quite in there just yet, but you know, you can see the wheels turning in the background. Moving on into our next chart right here. I did want to follow up on all of the major confirmations that we were looking at yesterday that have indeed happened. Daily time frame did turn stochastic momentum to the downside. Major divergence here as well between the last few highs that Bitcoin put in at about 44,000, 45,000, and then yet again at 47,000 bucks on a closing basis. Daily stochastic momentum will remain to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 47,700. Ultimately, what does this likely align with? Bitcoin, it's probably not going to break down from here. It's probably going to do a sideways, honestly. I mean, it's probably going to do something like this. Maybe another run at 45,000, get everyone super excited. Holy shit! The ETF are coming in, and the ETFs are coming in just to buy, which is like a nonsensical statement. By the way, it's not how it fucking works. And then maybe like in later this month, January or early February, we do see a breakdown out of this current range. But that's the daily time frame right there. Obviously, that means that the 2-day and the 3-day have also confirmed because those were higher pivots. 2-day time frame, a couple things going on right here. First and foremost, cross to the downside, rejection out of the bullish control zone, and remaining with downside momentum as long as Bitcoin's below about 46,850 or so. Moving on to the 3-day time frame, we do see over here, 4-day time frame is the same shit too, by the way. Also did close last night, showing downside momentum kicked out of the critical zone here below 46,200. But yeah, it's actually the 3-day that I really want to focus on. Yeah, the 3-day time frame right here, downside momentum as long as Bitcoin's below 46,500. So the pivot actually is the same from last period to this period. But what is more interesting about this is that this is probably going to make its own volatility versus stochastic momentum setup over here. It's not ready just yet. It's going to take some time to mature, I suspect. But you can see that the wheels are turning in the background, and that is probably what's going to signal the next sort of breakdown from this current structure that Bitcoin's operating in between about 41,000 bucks to the downside versus about 46,500 to the upside. So ultimately, I'd be looking at that as sort of like the next timing thing, which, like I said, it's probably going to at least take like a couple weeks, I would guess. for that to actually come to fruition. But for right now, you can see the wheels turning in the background. And then of course the 5-day time frame hasn't closed just yet, but is going to be showing downside momentum. Again, also kicked out of the critical zone right here, as long as Bitcoin's below 47,900. And then of course we already saw Bitcoin on CME close for the weekly, and that one certainly did close below the momentum pivot at just below 49,000 bucks, turning down freshly. So we have daily, 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, 5-day, weekly, and even the monthly as well, is kind of a big question mark right here, I'd say. Again, it's a lot more weeks left until the end of the month, so a lot of time left to go. But if Bitcoin does close below 40,000 bucks, we'll see the first cross to the downside on monthly momentum since, December of 2021. And of course, before that, when we actually saw momentum turn back onto the upside, that was in December of 2022. One of the major factors that we were looking at on this channel to kind of confirm that macro low over here, kind of getting the opposite but equal signal on this other side. So, you can see all of these wheels kind of turning in the background, and because these are higher term time frames, they're going to be taking a long time, likely to play out as well. Like, this is not going to be done all in January. This is probably going to take February, March, maybe even April. Bitcoin's more or less on a sideways and down path from here. And I think probably most likely the downside is done for January. Like, it might test 41,000 bucks again, but I don't think it's going to break in January just yet. Anyways, so yeah, we see all those things lining up in the background, which is, I guess, pretty good confluence if you want to be looking at stuff like that. And then of course that comes into a combination with one of the other charts that we were referencing a lot this past week. And yes, we will talk about new things on this as well. But I do need to get off of this in the sense that this time, once again, how does the old saying go? This time is different, right? Bitcoin on major events, does play out pretty similarly in the past. I want to reference again CME futures over here. Here's your announcement date on this green vertical bar. Here's your actual trading day or first day of trading. Again, between the announcement and the first day of trading, straight up. That's what we saw here as well, even though the announcement was like one day before. But that's why we kept on saying on this channel, hey, it's probably not putting the high just yet. Maybe move closer to 50,000 or above 50,000 bucks, but we're close. And I believe that we've seen it now. Same thing over here in 2021 on Coinbase IPO, right? Announcement, trading, first day of trading, slightly higher high. Yes. But as far as, as far as that goes, on the first day of trading, highs were put in actually one day before. First day of trading, actually, highs were put in on that one. Then Bitcoin played out. Oh, fuck, I forgot to do this part as well. All right, this part I don't want to scare you too much with, because I don't think that this will happen, but just to give you an idea, on this first event here for CME futures listing, from the first day of trading to the next major low, that was a 70% decrease in price action. Bitcoin came all the way back down to the weekly 55 exponential. You can see that moving average right here. On a closing base, it was, not as bad, obviously, about a still pretty fucking bad, 56% move to the downside. Anyways, similar thing over here, right? Within the next few months, from this first day of trading, 54% move to the downside. Again, Bitcoin corrects to that green moving average, that's 55. And then over here for the futures ETF BITO, this one actually did trade a little bit higher after the listing date. The announcement was one day before, and then the listing date was the day, the next day. This one actually did make new highs, slightly new highs, I should say, from wick high to wick high. It's about a 2.5% move. But realistically, that was pretty fucking close to the high, I would say. Anyways, again, we see that next move down to the green 55, then market cycle actually shifted, obviously, and this one did collapse much more over time. But in this case right here, about a 40% decrease, right, over the next couple months. Anyways, in this current iteration over here, we can see that we can deduce a couple things. One, the listing date probably going to be the high. Very high probability that's the high, and that was this right here. Or actually, this is going to get in the way, so I'm going to just put an X. Or first, let's get rid of this. I'm just going to put an X right here. Okay, where's my drawing tools? I'm really good at that. And so, over the next couple months, do we expect Bitcoin to, like every other time, trade sideways and down somewhere closer to the 55? Most likely, yes. The 55 for reference right now is actually below 32,000 bucks. Now, of course, with each and every passing week, it's rising up quite rapidly, about 400, 500 bucks. So, within a month, it's going to be probably around like 33 or 34, somewhere around here, I would guess. And to be fair, that would just be another higher low as far as the long term does go. Which also rhymes, and that's how you know it's true, because everything that rhymes is also true, because that's how people that's how people respond to like really nuanced, fucking tough questions. Just give a rhyme, and that makes sense to everyone, I guess. Anyways, so yeah, as far as this goes, is this time different? Absolutely. It's different in the fact that it's not different, at least most likely. Again, talking about probabilities here, we do see a pretty obvious relationship over time. Doesn't mean it's always going to play out, but until it stops, I'm going to continue to favor it. Anyways, I want to come back to this chart over here as well. So this is the fundamentals for halving. A couple things with this chart. All of the green vertical bars represent halving dates in Bitcoin's history. Obviously, this one over here is presumptive of the next one, sometime in like early May, late April of 2024. And what we've seen in all past market cycles is that prior to the halving, there is a parabolic rally followed by a parabolic blow off top, which then creates this long-term downtrend. Bitcoin typically breaks that long-term downtrend about a year before the halving date. As you can see right here, 366 days, almost on the dot. And then once it breaks that, leading into the halving, there's a pretty humongous rally. In all cases, to at least a 618 Fibonacci retracement on a bearish retracement. And from there is, okay, why is this one? This one's actually wrong here. Okay, there we go. Let's actually get it on the fucking high. Okay, there we go. And after that rally is typically, well, a major pullback, a dump, if you want to call it that. It is a fucking dump, obviously. And in this case right here, you can barely even see it on this first one leading into the halving, but this was a pretty significant move from wick high to next low, which by the way was at the 236 Fibonacci retracement. That's a 48% move. Significant. Then of course, halving happens, price levels out, big, massive, girthy green dildos to the upside. Everyone's happy again. Same thing over here. Parabolic blow off top, long-term downtrend, breaks it about a year before, 378 days. Beautiful. Rallies up pre-halving to the 618 right here. Or sorry, above the 50% between there and the 618. And what happens right before the halving? Well, the pullback begins to the 236 yet a fucking again. 40% move right there from top to bottom on a wick basis. Then the next cycle over here, another parabolic blow off top, boom, long-term downtrend, Bitcoin breaks it, massive girthy green dildos in that pre-halving rally right here. Bitcoin rallies up to the 618. Again, this is gonna sound fucking familiar. And then what happens after that? Well, we do get a black swan, the Rona times. And price comes down and corrects to the 236. Yeah, it does come a little bit lower. Realistically, this was a very short-lived stay below that region, that 236, like I should say. And ultimately, price kind of stabilizes here, to be fair. So I'd say if you disregard the black swan, which might not be the smartest, but let's just do it for argument's sake, you could imagine that Bitcoin realistically would have done something like this, right? It probably would have done something like that if there wasn't a black swan there. Again, not very scientific in the way that I say that, but it's hard. It's kind of hard not to think that in that particular case. Anyways, what do you know? Parabolic blow off top, long-term downtrend, breaks it a little bit more than a year out. Fair enough. Rallies up pre-halving to the 618. Holy shit. Crazy how that's happening again. And well, looks like we do have a reversal barn right there. Does Bitcoin come all the way back down to the 236 like it has in all prior cycles? It seems like it's pretty fucking far away from here. That would be my intuition. I think that would be kind of unlikely, just looking at it as of right now. I think, just looking at it, as of right now, maybe move down to like 32 or 33. But at the end of the day, the historical data is the historical data, and, probabilities wouldn't necessarily say that that's impossible. In fact, they would say it's probably probable. Maybe you do get a move down around there, but it's very quick and short-lived, like a quick wick and then back up. I don't know. But, you can see that from multiple different angles, there are several things that do suggest that this pullback does come lower, definitely very likely below $40,000. Closer to 30,000 is actually certainly within the cards. And even below $30,000, maybe for a very short time on a very short wick, also possible if we do look at the history of this as relevant as well. But this time is different. We got all the ETF buyers coming in. There's billions and billions of dollars coming in. Realistically, my target should be $200,000, and that's just is what it is. Anyways, people learning very quickly here, their first lesson in markets that, wow, shit really doesn't change over time. Most likely not. So yeah, again, long term, I don't think that Bitcoin's flipping into like a macro bear market or anything like that. I do think that this ultimately provides the impetus for the next like major massive opportunity, whether it's a higher low at like 35,000 or 32 or 33,000, or maybe even all the way down to $28,000. I think is fair enough, but it's very likely an opportunity long term. I don't think that this market is done going to the upside. For this year, I do think that there will be new highs in this rally above $50,000 this year, but it's going to take time. I mean, again, to put things in perspective, Bitcoin was nearly straight up for the past, how many days? Let's take it from like the actual breakout day. Literally a year, 364 days. Like, it's not crazy to think that we might have, some pullback action right here. And again, putting things into perspective, this dump over here was also, by the way, to the 236. That was like a 46% move. If you do include the actual low, 71% move. What would like 40% off current price action look like? Oh my God, is it to the 236 as well? That's fucking crazy. Holy shit. Is that how math works? Like, if you look at the same fib, then it's the same percentage. Oh. Anyway, sorry. Where am I going with that anyways? 40% move to the downside, like that is kind of par for the course. I do think that it might just be a 30% move as well. Like we might just see $35,000 and back up, but it's going to take time. Like first, Bitcoin very likely to go sideways here. How do we kind of reference that? Daily HPDR bands, my favorite fucking indicator in the whole goddamn world. And what are we looking at? We're still looking at a period of low volatility. We're still looking at a period of more or less consolidation right here as things oscillate between the top side and the bottom side of the 50% range. And that's probably what we're going to see. Next short-term move is probably to the upside. Probably see another attempt, maybe closer to $45,000. But I do think that that's probably going to be, the last chance for the Boulahs here. I am essentially bearish on Bitcoin as long as it's below, like let's say 46,500 on a daily closing basis. As long as it's below there, all rallies are just bounces before getting ready for nice downside move. Now, of course, I can be wrong on all of this, but at the end of the day, I am first basing my opinion off of the back tested history, which provides us actual probabilities and whatnot, and so it's just statistics at the end of the day. People lie, numbers don't. My opinion is basically just what the numbers are. And so I'm showing you how I deduce this. I'm showing you how I kind of work through this, and you can make the decisions for yourself as well. So yeah, could it be wrong? Yeah, there's always potential for this time to be different and a more serious tone. But my sort of criteria, at least in the more near term for reversing that, would be 46,500 daily closing basis. Until then, I'm looking at all of this as kind of like the next portion of distribution before getting ready for the next downside move. Can very easily also have, after a short-term rally to the upside, play out another move down here, trade sideways, and then maybe closer to February, we actually do see an attempt for a breakdown. If we do go over here to the weekly, we can see that the weekly 50% range is actually showing the bottom side at just above $33,000. So again, putting things into perspective, like It's not that crazy. It's really not that crazy. Even to the 61.8 here would be like $31,000. Again, not that crazy. You know, we have seen things bottom out in that region actually, on the more aggressive downside dumps that we saw throughout this past year, despite being an overall upside market. So, you know, putting all the puzzle pieces together, again, I don't think Bitcoin is breaking down like today or tomorrow, or even this month really, but something more or less like bit of sideways, another try to the upside, maybe closer to 45, reject. If you see rejection there, that would be the next sort of major confirmation for a markdown phase kind of coming into the halving date, which again is like April, May area. You know, after that, I'd be looking for things kind of level out again, you know, basically at the start of summer. And, you know, maybe after summer ends, that we probably see another just general rally to the upside. And at that point, I'd probably be looking for Bitcoin to really do something special for the rest of 2024 and into 2025 as well. Now that I even look at it, I haven't even looked at this chart before, but the monthly HPDR bands, I recognize it's actually just been rejected right at the median. So, you know, playing between that and the bottom side of the 50% range, which actually is at $27,000, is not that crazy from this perspective. I don't know how much I trust. Like, this chart actually does have an okay amount of data, not crazy amount of data, but let's see. Let's actually measure it out. We have 171 bars. So, okay, not that much, honestly. It does need more, but for what it's worth, that is in there. All right. That's enough for me today. I've been recording this. Oh my God, this is over 20 minutes long. Holy shit. Apologies on that. Didn't mean for it to be that long, but I do think that this particular topic warranted a little bit of a longer video today, just to accurately explain what I'm looking at and see if it's relevant to you or not. Again, I kind of put this area over here similar to what we saw back in December of 2022. You know, a little bit more than a year ago now. So, yeah, I think we'll end things right there. As always, I want to wish you the best of best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.